Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I'm Ross Johnston. There is plenty of NFL news today, starting with the New York Jets as head coach Aaron Glenn announced that quarterback Justin Fields will be out on Sunday versus the Buccaneers with a concussion, and veteran backup Tyrod Taylor will get the start. The Los Angeles Chargers will be without one of their key defenders for a few weeks as edge rusher Khalil Mack suffered a dislocated elbow on Monday night versus the Raiders and will miss some time, but nothing season-ending. The Washington Commanders signed veteran edge rusher Preston Smith after losing Dietrich Wise for the season. Smith was a 2015 second-round pick by Washington and spent 4 seasons with the team before heading to Green Bay and then Pittsburgh. Lastly, Titans quarterback Cam Ward is set to speak after practice today, and you can catch that here on The Zone starting around 2:30, with the team's first injury report of the week expected as well later in the day. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once in your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by all 4 Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 is the number. Coming up around 1:20, we'll be joined by Easton Freeze of A to Z Sports, who last night did A to Z Primetime, and he gave out some positive things about the Tennessee Titans. And
did he?
I've been told that this show is too negative about the Tennessee Titans, or maybe specifically me. Had someone even call in to complain to Mojo Rojo yesterday that I was too negative. So because of that, I'll give you some moment of positivity about the Titans. That will come from Easton Freeze at 1:20 today. We heard from Brian Callahan today. We'll get into some of the stuff that he had to say. But I meant to bring this up yesterday, or was today? Wednesday now? Comic Book Wednesday. I meant to bring this up on Monday to you, Blaine, and I forgot. But what about, and this has nothing to do with Tennessee Titans.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But what about the news that broke on Sunday regarding that the Baltimore Ravens were set to draft Shadur Sanders, and he said he didn't want to go to Baltimore to be the backup behind Lamar Jackson. And so they traded out of that pick. That's the pick they traded with the Tennessee Titans so they could draft Elikai and Manor, traded back, and then ended up drafting Carson Vincent. And, of course, we know that Shadur Sanders went to Cleveland. But has anybody really derailed their own pre-draft process, kind of like what Shadur Sanders did? I mean, wouldn't you want to go to the Ravens? And because you're in the 5th round anyway, you're more than likely going to be a backup. But then you ended up at Cleveland, of all places. Like, at some point, you got to get out of your own way and take what you can get in the NFL, right?
Well, you're answering what I call the direct question. The real question is, why did that just now come out?
Ooh, that is true.
See, that's the real question.
Well, because Cleveland is playing the Ravens, right?
But,
maybe that's why.
I don't know now. So I kind of look at it that way.
Okay.
Yeah. Whether.
So why do you think it came out?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea. When I saw that,
it was so random.
I was just like, what are we trying to do? Continue just to pile on the kid at this point in time. This is, PR at its best. So to me, it's a moot point. It's already passed. That already happened months ago.
Someone from the Ravens obviously must have leaked it, right?
I don't know.
I mean, that's what you would think, because they're the only team that really stands the benefit.
Yeah, there's a lot of rats around the media.
Ratbirds. A lot of ratbirds, specifically.
What did Vrabel call them?
He called them rats.
Saban too, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm sure.
Rats.
I'm sure Saban's called media many things over the years.
Man, I don't know, man. I don't know. This is not a national show, so Shadur Sanders is no longer the equation for me as far as.
I just find that such an odd decision.
I find it unbelievable.
To be honest, I do too.
So that's why I'm not going to address it, because I don't know if it's true or not. There's so many things that came out that were true or untrue.
Because then you ended up at the Browns, which is a worse backup situation anyway for you.
And then they told you to pick them. I mean, after you already had picked the quarterbacks, it's going to be a hot mess. I wish they actually would just trade them, to anybody, really.
Well, now there's
just so we
talks
can have
about
more
Dylan
conversation.
Gabriel is going to be the starter here sooner rather than later. That's
yeah.
the new stuff coming out, and the Browns are a mess. I mean, just organizationally. So I'm kind of with you. Like, I find it a little hard to believe that someone would look at the Ravens organization and then look at the Browns organization and say, yeah, that's what I want. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want more of that Browns organization.
I don't think that's what he did, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm trying to just think about, well, if someone did say that, that he didn't want to go to the Ravens, is it because the Ravens aren't as good at quarterback if the quarterback can't run?
Oh, well.
And is he
I
a
could see
runner?
that being a point.
Is he a runner?
Nope.
No. Not in National Football League, he won't be.
He's a runner out of the back of the pocket.
Right.
But yes.
So then that kind of changes the whole kind of their offense a little bit, I would say. But
yeah,
I would have never said that. But hey, other people have said it without saying it. See? So the difference is Dion and whoever his brass around him have been saying it. And where the other ones didn't. Let's use Eli Manning. He didn't ever say it, but until the end that trade me, right? I think it was the Chargers that drafted him.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So this has gone on for a while. It's just that the tack and the way they chose to go with it, to me, they shouldn't have. But now it's just a whole bunch of mess to me.
All right, we have two polls up over at Cover 2, at Blaine and Zach on Twitter. The poll that we're going to be talking about the most today is going to be this one. How would you grade Bill Callahan so far in his Titans tenure? 0% for A, 17% say B to C, 53.6% say D, and then 29.4% say F. And there's a lot to really break down about Bill Callahan and what he's been able to do.
Ooh.
But here's what you need to know. Before he came to the Tennessee Titans, his average rank for his offensive line was around 11.6. So you might as well just call it 12th. He was either in the top 12 or better more often than not throughout his years from 2008 all the way to 2023. That's really good. Okay? Well, since he's been here, he's been 28th and 30th. And he's currently 30th right now in the NFL. And that's with 3 first-round picks on this team. So just wanted to throw that out there because we're going to be talking a lot about Bill Callahan because we probably out of maybe I say most of the shows have talked the most about, well, Bill Callahan has only been able, especially you. I mean, you bring it up all the time, but Bill Callahan has, O-line Jesus or O-line mastermind, whatever you want to call him, O-line guru, hasn't lived up to it. And you had concerns when he was hired that he may not be able to do that here because, hey, when he took over at the Jets, he had 4 first-round picks across that line.
Dang.
And DeBrickashaw Ferguson had already been in the league a few years before he even got there.
And so this is where the reputation started?
I think you can maybe say there's reputation beforehand, but from 2008 all the way to 2025, he's been an offensive line coach. His other stops, he's been interim here and there, but all of his other stops were, before that. And so this is really where you start getting that reputation built up in this modern era of the NFL. And he got it started building up in 2008. And like I said, 4 first-round picks his first 2 years across that offensive line in the Jets. He was second in pass block efficiency. For those who may not know, this is just an easy way to say this is a good pass blocking offensive line. It is the number of pressures you allow on a per-snap basis as an offensive line unit where you get dinged more on sacks than you do on pressures. Not all pressures are created equal. Sacks are drive killers, right, or are play killers. And so he had 4 first-round picks, and that was when he was at his best. And then Cleveland, he kind of fluctuated all over the map. First year he was there. He was the number 1 overall on that offensive line. Then he went to 14th, then 13th, then 21st. right before he came over to the Tennessee Titans to go 28-30.
Where was his draft picks there?
So every year he had at least 2 first-round draft picks. Starting.
Any other?
And they were all tackles, by the way, until the very they were all tackles throughout that.
Right. So he coached Conklin?
Yeah, he coached. That was the first year he got there. Was the first year they got Conklin. Mm-hmm. To go one step further, full list of this is from Mike Herndon. Full list of Pro Bowl and or All Pro first or second team selections under Bill Callahan over the last 16 years, with their draft round / pick in parentheses. If we're just talking tackles for now, let's do every tackle that Callahan has had over that time span has achieved postseason honors over the last 16 years has been a top 10 pick. So they were top 10 picks and then achieved the honors. Alan Faneca, Nick Mangold, Zach Martin, Travis Frederick, and Brandon Sheriff, Joel Bottano, they were all first or second round draft picks, and those are your interior guys. So everybody that he has gotten are guys that are likely going to be, maybe not all pros, but at least Pro Bowlers. They were all top tier offensive linemen. So it goes back to players over plays, but how much of this reputation has been built up so much that he's never going to achieve what was already in the majority's minds here in Tennessee.
Mm-hmm. You got something to say, Ross?
I think what it shows me is that there's potentially just not a good meshing between father and son with how they want the offense to look. And I get health as a part of it too, because we've had some guys banged up, but maybe the plays that Brian wants to run isn't conducive to necessarily what's best for Bill's offensive line. Just a theory, but potentially.
That gives you something to little think about.
It does, really does. Great job there, Ross. I don't know. There was a whole part of me when I did some research, nothing to this level of what Zach just did, but that, every time I looked at his line, they always had high draft picks. So that's why I kept saying, I didn't do a deep dive, but I was assuming that was the case looking back only to a couple teams.
I'll say this, just real quick, the best year in Dallas,
now, it's easy
3 first-round picks.
3 first-round picks, right? Because that's Zach Martin, right? He's from Indianapolis, by the way. Went to our rival high school there, Shadur. We used to take him down. But anyway, yeah, so I just, to me, the true worth of a coach is that you coach a player into being a productive starter, even if he's a later rounder or even undrafted. I have to give knowledge to all the coaches that coached me. They all brought different things to the table, and it does. So it's easier, I think, to coach first and second rounders because they're so much more talented to everybody else.
Yep.
So maybe they can adapt to his way, where others may not be able to, play with his techniques because they don't work for you if you're not a high-profile, super athletic player at your position. So you could take DB and let's say, okay, try to get me to play, outside technique and over the top, and the guy just jumping over me. It doesn't even matter just because, I'm just not as athletic as the guy I'm going against. And that happens sometimes. So what do you do then? And that's kind of where we're at with the Titans. Outside of Skoronski, first-round pick, Latham. All right, what has he done with Moore since he's been here? See, middle round guy who was proven in this league, whether you like him or not, that he was a starter for 4 years for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Look at Cushion Zeitler. Zeitler was a first-round pick, and they decided not to play him at all in the preseason. I think that's coming back to bite him in the butt. And Cush has actually looked worse here than he did in Denver.
Yeah, well, and that
was even before the injury, too.
Yeah, I thought he was just playing okay. That wasn't up to par for me, but So it's just something to monitor and watch.
Yeah.
I just think I'm real careful with anointing someone the guru.
Yeah.
Which is really hard to say. Even with Callahan, he has to admit, the head coach Callahan, Brian, is that when he coached at all these different places, was he more of a placeholder and a chalkboard holder, really, clipboard holder to some of these quarterbacks? And was he learning from them?
Yeah.
And then that's why he always referenced them. But if you didn't bring anything to the table to them, then just duplicating and saying the same things that they say, it's not coaching.
Well, I likened it to people who may not know how to change oil in the car. You may be able to watch a mechanic do it
Right.
13 times in a row, and they ask you to do it the 14th time, and you still have no clue what you're doing.
Right.
You can be around great mechanics and
pick
still
up
not be a mechanic yourself.
Right. But you could pick up some things
Yeah.
along the way.
You know what
what
to do, but you are not physically able to do it.
Yeah, because you're not just, that's something you're probably not interested in, or you're just not good enough at it. So I just don't know if that's the case, because he's been in sports for a very, very long time. So I just think the natural feel for certain things, I think, is the part that's missing with head coach Callahan.
Just real quick, O-line Jesus. Taylor H in the F&M Bank chat, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live says O-line Judas. More like it.
Oh.
And so we'll talk more about that. We got Easton
Ross, why
Freeze.
did you think that up, man? Come on, man.
I do.
Easton Freeze of A to Z Sports will be joining us next. He'll give you some positivity about this Tennessee Titans team, and we'll talk more about what Brian Callahan had to say as well. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons right here on 104.5 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Door. 615-737-1045 is the number. We're broadcasting live from the 104.5 The Zone Circus Sports Studio. Kentucky's largest sports book can now be found at Circus Sports at Kentucky Downs. And we're going to the phones for some positivity, because I have been apparently too negative.
Yeah, Ross.
Been too negative, and we need more positivity. And it just happened to be around the same time that Easton Freeze on A to Z Primetime last night, which you can go listen on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast, said, I got some positive moments. He's got 15 minutes worth of positive moments, and he shared it all out there. And so, Easton, I'm going to let you have the floor.
And then he popped up your face and said, here's the person who's giving all the positive news over the airwaves. And it was you.
It was me. Easton, I'm going to give you one. What's the most positive takeaway from the first 2 weeks for this team?
Oh, you stole my question.
The most positive takeaway?
Outside of Cam Ward.
Good to hear from you guys. Well, I'm going to lump Cam Ward into it.
Okay.
I think it's the youth. They are our future, right? It's these young guys who, for whatever may come of this season, whatever may happen with the coaching staff and of the veterans on the team, and like whatever happens this year, at least going forward as a franchise, you can look at Cam Ward, obviously. You can look at Chimere Dike and what he's been, not just as a receiver, but kind of the leading force of the revolution on special teams. You can look at my guy, Alec Iamaner, who appears to be a starting solution going forward at receiver. I don't know. Is it too early to say that he's at least a good wide receiver 3, wide receiver 2 in an offense? I don't think so. I don't think it's too early to say that. But we haven't seen a whole lot from Gunnar Helm yet, but I'm going to lump him in there as well, because from what we have seen of him, which I think if Chig wasn't as integral a part of this offense right now, I think we'd be seeing more of him. And I think by the end of the year, we'll see more of Gunnar Helm. I think that he's been a positive factor for this team. So offensively, I see a lot of youth that's inspiring.
As long as Gunnar Helm's not asked to block, been very good. Other than that, if he's asked to block.
Give it time.
What about the defensive guys? You don't have no positive news over there? Well, you seem to skip that.
Last time we were talking on this show, we got into it about the guy up front at edge.
But you can't say his name or something?
Oh, you guys, you know what I'm talking about. Listen, I mean, it's been what we've expected from him so far, or what I've expected from him so far. I thought that he'd have a season. I wrote about in the summer how I thought that he would have a season akin to what we saw from Harold Landry in his first year, where he had 4.5 sacks. Zach astutely pointed out to me privately this week that to stay on the Harold Landry track, he needs to have 1 sack this week, because that's when Harold Landry's first sack came. So go get him against the Colts. But generally speaking, both of those guys I saw as more project-y types. I'm bummed that Kevin Winston isn't more an element of this team yet because of injury. I do think that if he had stayed healthy on his return from ACL, we'd be seeing more of him. But he and Femi are guys that I'm not. I can't say that I'm excited about them based on what we've seen so far, obviously. But the fact that we haven't seen a lot from them the first 2 weeks is not particularly surprising to me.
Okay, you talked about expectations. I think for the most part, I think most people in the media expected 0-2 start.
Yes.
However, did you expect it to look like this kind of an 0-2 start, where there's 23 penalties for 193 yards, where there's 11 sacks, where they've lost 82 yards on those sacks, where they've given up 150 rush yards per game? Like, did you think that it was going to look like this? Because this looks pretty bad.
I hear you, and I do think I find this element of expectations versus reality kind of funny, because to your point, the panic over an 0-2 start that we all expected is on paper pretty funny. And I also find it funny that when you confront somebody with that, where it's like, well, hang on, dude, 2 weeks ago you were talking about how you expected them to lose both of these games. What changed? And they go, yeah, well, I thought they'd lose. I didn't think they'd lose like that. I hear you that some of the same problems from last year have carried over, and that's the frustration. But generally speaking, it's hard to lose a game and not look bad somehow because you lost. Like, are you expecting these perfectly honorable, buttoned up losses where they just got outclassed? It was so close. maybe that was your expectation. For me, I saw two really difficult spots in the first 2 weeks and a team that had a lot of moving pieces, a rookie quarterback. Like, am I disappointed by the penalties? Absolutely. Am I disappointed by the way that things have started out for the offensive line? From an injury standpoint, absolutely. Like, I hate that you have lost the guy that's supposed to anchor the bookends in J.C. Latham to start, and I want him back as soon as possible. And I'm not particularly surprised that they struggled against what I think are two easy top 5 defensive fronts in the league. I hate that they had to do it largely without Latham in there. And I hate that it has kind of set the bar for a group that I still have high expectations for by the end of the season, but it's been a really disappointing start so far. So I just think when you go 0-2, it's never quite going to look what you're expecting it to look like. And we all have this idealized version of, well, but they'll lose, but they'll lose honorably. Usually you lose. There's something to be really frustrated about. And I think there have been.
Well, there's been like several things. So they only have one touchdown through 2 weeks. All their points, 31 points, and only 6 of them belong to an actual touchdown, which is not great. And again, 23 penalties, 193 yards, 11 sacks, lost 82 yards on that. But overall, besides all of that, besides looking like a slop fest out there, how do you think Cam Ward has looked through the 2 weeks? And did you see a difference from Cam Ward week 1 and Cam Ward week 2?
Generally, he's looked really promising these first 2 weeks. And even when he has had rookie moments or has looked like a guy playing in one of his first 2 games ever in the NFL, even the quote-unquote bad from him, he has still looked to me clearly like a guy that belongs as an NFL starter. I'm no longer asking that question to myself when I'm watching Cam Ward. Or does this guy belong or not? No, I think he's clearly one of the 30-some-odd best quarterbacks in the world right now. Every question that I have is, okay, what is the potential here? Is the 25th best quarterback, and that's what he's going to be all year? Could this guy be a top half of the league guy? Could this eventually be a top 10 quarterback in the league? How quickly can we get to that? Those are the questions that I'm asking at this point. And so I also think it's important to point out that right now, the way that this team is playing, the expectations for Cam Ward are a little bit not even a little bit. They're just plain unfair because offensively, it's kind of Cam Ward or nothing. And so you're asking this rookie quarterback to carry a team immediately in the NFL. And that's just not super reasonable. The Titans have no choice and fans have no choice. So there's this kind of mental disconnect between being reasonable with a rookie in his first month and the reality of he's got to be an elevator. He's got to be a tractor quarterback and not a trailer quarterback for this team to win games right now. And so I did see a little bit of a drop-off in my own personal opinion from week 1 to week 2. I thought that he wasn't seeing the field quite as well. I thought that there were some opportunities that he wasn't able to capitalize on, whether he just didn't see a guy in a progression or got to a guy just a tick late. Again, none of that's particularly concerning to me long-term, but I thought that his worst half of football so far was easily the second half of the Rams game. And he was, they were leading the game almost through 3 quarters, and then he had a really unfortunate turnover that kind of blew the game open, and then they got outclassed by a better team than them, and that's kind of the story of week 2 to me.
We're on the phone with Easton Freeze of A to Z Sports, covering all things Tennessee Titans.
Well, Easton, naturally, I concur with you on the quarterback play. It's just been okay, and obviously that's good enough, being a rookie quarterback, so he's got to go through his lumps. But why is his pass percentage not equating to, I guess, how we're viewing what we see of him?
You're talking about the completion percentage?
Yes,
Yeah, I think if you watch the games, it's pretty easy to tell the number of drops, the number of near connections that he's made. Generally speaking, he's throwing into more tight windows than just about the rest of the league, which I think is a combination of him looking for some more difficult downfield completions on plays where there are things available to him underneath. That I like that general tendency of his, but I think that his understanding of when and where to do that and realizing that, that is a lot better an idea when we're ahead of the sticks and on schedule, and maybe we don't do that on 2nd and 10 or 3rd and 8, where maybe you can get a guy underneath, even though you're not quite throwing to the sticks, you're going to give him a chance to go be an athlete and get there anyways. And I think that all just comes with time. So the drops and the tight windows are the primary culprit there. I don't think that what is his completion percentage? Sitting right around 50% right now.
I don't know.
I believe so.
Okay, so yeah, I don't think that's super reflective of the guy that we've seen. I think everybody that's actually watched him realizes that.
Yeah, 50.8%.
Yeah. Yeah, so
and I heard for the record, I heard the press conference from the Colts defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo this week. He was asked that explicitly about how one of their I don't want to accuse this beat writer of just box score watching, but they kind of asked how can you say this guy's any good or any threat to your defense when he can't even complete half of his passes? Right. Which Colts beat writers, they know a lot about 50% completion percentage from the past couple of years covering that team. I think that his answer was really fair in his assessment was roughly the same that, man, you got to watch this guy to understand what we're up against.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no doubt about it. Yeah. That just shows you. I was just trying to give an analogy how sometimes the stats don't match up with actually the player and when you're watching them play, and because it just kind of blows my mind. I never felt like that out of a game that, oh, man, he didn't complete a lot of passes. That was just kind of observation. From afar, though, what were your expectations for the defense going into the season, and then base that off of their two performances the last 2 weeks?
I would say the defense has slightly exceeded my expectations overall.
Well, how low were your expectations? Because they stink.
My expectations were low. My expectations were low. I say it slightly exceeded only because I didn't expect them to be this opportunistic at this point. So the team as a whole has 5 takeaways. They've won the turnover battle in both games. That's something that I wasn't really expecting. I know that's been an emphasis for them, and I think it's been a great thing that's showing up already. And I think you've got some playmakers on the defense that are contributing to that. The areas in which I'm really concerned are, this week, I think one of the headlines should be whether or not the Titans' shaky run defense finally gets blown up in a really embarrassing way. Jonathan Taylor looks like himself. He looks healthy. He's looked very good through 2 weeks. I've got some very sharp friends in the betting space that are recommending to buy low on his ticket for potential offensive player of the year. I'm not going to say that he's like God's gift to running back right now, but we have seen what he can do when he is healthy and when this Colts offensive line is in good shape, which they are right now. And based on the way, especially in the second half of these first 2 games, we've seen the Titans' run defense hold up. Would it shock you if there was the Commanders game last year where they allowed 10 quadrillion rushing yards, and we're asking about why, I thought that nobody runs on the Tennessee Titans. What happened to that? I wouldn't be shocked by that. So I sure hope that that's a big emphasis of theirs this week because it's not been promising through 2 weeks.
Well, I'm a little surprised in that with no elite pass rusher and elite player really on defense outside of Big Jeff, I think they have played up to the standard that they are capable of. Let's say that compared to the offense. And when I say that, expectations are higher for the offensive line when you put so much resource, draft picks, money into that position. So to me, then all the pressure goes onto the offense. So based off what I've seen through 2 games, I'm thoroughly disappointed with the offensive line, and them not putting up points. Because in this league today, if you don't put up points, and that means more than 20 points, you're going to be in trouble. I don't care what defense you have, unless you have the number 1 defense in the NFL that just dominates. So how do you view overall, let's say, the offense not putting up points and the defense kind of playing bend, don't break, and opportunistic more so without an elite player or a pass rusher?
Yeah, on the defensive side, I guess that's part of the reason why I've been slightly pleasantly surprised is because my expectations for the pass rush were literally 0, and they have been 0. So that's kind of an expectation met, unfortunately. My expectations for the back end were generally that, well, if you're not going to get any pass rush, then they could get ugly back there. And so far, I think they've held their own relatively well. Definitely a bend, don't break approach. There have been some really soft zone chunk plays. You saw that a lot against the Rams. But when it came down to getting a stop, defending your goal line, I think they've done fine job. Again, fine job for having no pass rush.
Right.
That's a big problem that, I'm not just accepting of the fact like, oh, well, they don't have a pass rush. Better luck next time. I just don't really know what avenues there are to significantly improve that at this point in the season. So you might just have to try to draw blood from a stone in that way all year long. The offensive line, Zach said it, I'm the optimistic guy by nature. I'm not giving up on what they can be until J.C. Latham gets back. I think that's obviously fair. And I also am, the season kind of starts for me this week, to be honest with you, because my expectations for these first two games were low. I thought that the offense would really struggle against these defenses. I thought they were both really, we know that the Denver spot was on the road, rookie's first start against maybe the best defense in the league. That's really brutal. And then the Rams, for my money, I think that's the best team they play all year long. Like, I think it's the best team on their schedule. Maybe the Chargers prove me wrong, and it's the two LA teams are just awesome. But I think that's as bad as it's going to get. So with two divisional opponents coming up, and we know how divisional games can be fluky sometimes. There can be some divisional voodoo, and those games tend to be closer than you'd think otherwise. And, it's anybody's ball game in a divisional matchup. I'm expecting them to look a lot different, especially this week at home against the Colts. The Colts are not a bad team, and they've been fantastic through 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
I am betting against them. They cannot run as pure as they've run. Even if they are suddenly the best team in the league, they can't just not punt. They can't be as incredible as they've been. I'm also kind of feeling the same way about them as I did the Saints last year, where the Saints were a record-breaking offense through 2 weeks, and we were all oohing and ahhing over what they were doing, and then it fell apart. I'm not saying that I think the Colts are going to end up picking in the top 10 after this start, but I don't think that they're going to be winning 10 or 11 or 12 games either. I just don't know.
Who was talking about the Saints last year? I'm going to have to stop you there. Nobody's talking about the Saints last year. Come on,
you are misremembering it, dude.
I am not misremembering. Nobody is talking about.
They scored like 80 points through 2 weeks. What are you talking about?
But nobody believed in them. Everybody knew they were still the Saints and a bad team.
No, but that's exactly what I'm saying, is that I am calling the Colts bluff this year the same way we were all calling the Saints bluff last year. That's what I'm saying, is that I don't believe the Colts through 2 weeks the same way we did not believe the Saints through 2 weeks.
Speaking of calling bluffs, what do you think organizational-wise and player-wise the players think of when head coach Callahan didn't know the rules to a game? What do you think they thought?
I think, what a loaded question. I think that everybody in the building has a pretty different perspective on that story than people that aren't in the building. And so I think that he got up in front of the team, and I'm sure he said he took accountability on Monday, and we talked to some of the players about that moment, and they said that it was no different than when any of the players make a mistake, and they have to take accountability for the team, and the team wins as a team and loses as a team. And I think that's what it was.
So you don't think the organization felt that their head coach should know that rule?
Oh, no. Of course, everybody expects the head coach to know that rule. Brian, he said it himself, that a head coach has to know the rules, point blank. I just think that a head coach is also somebody that is in charge of the whole team. And sometimes head coaches have to take the fall for people on their team.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Let me ask you this,
players
Easton.
included.
Last question. Well, I got two questions for you. Real quick, we have a poll out today. Give a letter grade to Bill Callahan's Titans tenure so far.
Man, it's incomplete is my actual answer, but you're going to force me to give him an actual letter grade.
Incomplete is not allowed, fence sitter.
We got the chicken music.
Get off that fence.
Yeah, you say that, but then he's this year is, I think, the first year we can really grade his version of an offensive line now that he's had a chance to build it the way he wants to.
Gosh, he wants Dan Moore as a left tackle? That says a lot about him.
And we've seen, I'm sure there's a difference between what you want and what you can get. You know that. And we've seen less than 3/4 of the actual new offensive line. So that's why it's incomplete. But if I had to grade it right now, you're forcing me, you're twisting my arm, I'd say a C.
Okay.
Wait.
Okay.
A C. Where's 11 sacks in the league?
Right here at Tennessee.
What is your question?
No, as far as the ranking, at number one?
That's number one. Now, it's not all on the offensive line, but they are the 30th ranked.
So you're saying that those
Offensive line.
players have played up to sea level?
We're talking about more than just the past 2 games, aren't we, Blaine?
Well, do you think they played at sea level last
you
year?
You try to act like it was recruiting. Like, well, last year didn't really count. So it's
Well, no, I'm not saying the last year didn't count. I'm saying I think the version of the offensive line he's put together this year is the one that I actually want to grade for him. And we've seen that version for less than 3 quarters.
All right.
So you basically said
That's
last
true.
year didn't count, right? That's what you
You could
said.
be mad at me for that. That's true.
Okay, let me ask you this to end it. Will we ever see a 2-game? Because you brought up the Saints, obviously a bad team. They were able to score 47 and 44 points last year at the start of the year, and you said they were a bad team, and they proved to be a bad team. Will the Titans under Brian Callahan ever score 40 points?
Yeah, I think so because we didn't think it was. We didn't think it was possible for this team to ever score 30 points again. And then last year they did it, 2 or 3 times, even though they were god awful. So sure, why not? I think 1 week this year they play a team that implodes and turns the ball over 3 times, and maybe they're playing a backup quarterback and they get to 40.
All right, let's hope so. They did score 30 or more points in 3 games last year. The Indianapolis Colts, the Miami Dolphins, and the Houston Texans. So maybe they can reach 40
wrong,
this
right?
year. Maybe they can reach 40.
Doesn't that feel wrong in hindsight that they did that 3 times?
Yeah, it does actually.
Well, accidents do
I think we all try to forget that Miami Dolphins game for sure. So maybe they'll be able to score 40 points. Can they do it twice like the Saints did? We'll see. All right, that will do it for Easton and his moment of positivity. Power positivity from Easton Freeze. A to Z Sports is where you can read all of his articles, get all of his coverage, and of course you can follow him on Twitter at Easton Freeze. Easton, we appreciate it.
B+.
It's too early to give up on the season. Have hope. Bye.
I always got hope. We got to keep it real, though.
Yeah. All right. When we come back, we'll continue talking about the Tennessee Titans. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
No. Parents, when your teen athlete gets injured, every practice miss matters. So don't let an injury sideline you this season or your dreams. Introducing the Edge Athlete Recovery Program, a 2-month, twice daily sublingual peptide protocol designed to help your athlete heal faster, recover stronger, and get back on the field safely. Our science-backed peptides BPC 157 and TB 500 support muscle, tendon, and ligament repair with no needles, no downtime, and no hassle. Safe for teens, non-GMO, gluten-free, and easy to take at home. Optional add-ins include M-Sculpt, functional sessions, and regenerative orthopedic treatments to accelerate recovery even more. So don't wait. Give your athlete the best shot at full return to the sport and call Edge Peptide right now. 615-724-1878. At 724-1878, or you can visit them online at edgepeptide.com to schedule an office consultation today. That's Edge Peptide Therapy. They know every game, every practice, and every dream matters.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Door. 615-737-1045 is the number. A C from Easton Freeze on this offensive line. Now, I think he gave a C, weighed heavily.
I said D+.
Sounds
He said C, man. Something wrong with him.
It sounds like it's weighted heavily on just this year. I think was heavily influenced. We're like trying to get Bill Callahan a pass for last year. The guy who said, yeah, I could probably do something with NPF. Gets a pass. Oh, let's sign Leroy Watson. Oh, let's get Jerron Christian in here. Like, let's get these guys going. It was quite the chat did not like the C. I'm personally a D+ kind of guy right now.
Oh, yeah.
I think I'd probably even lean closer to D than C- at this point. Listen, sometimes the coaching game just leaves you behind. Like father time comes for quarterbacks and players and all this stuff, and suddenly these great players just have a sudden drop off. Seems like the drop-off is trending this way because after he left Cleveland, it was almost the same exact pass blocking efficiency last year for Cleveland as it was his final year in Cleveland. So, I mean, whoever took over for him did a pretty good job over there in Cleveland, or at least maintained that level of play. And in fact, this year, if you were to look at Cleveland's pass blocking efficiency this year, they are actually ranked higher than Tennessee. Tennessee, of course, is ranked 30th. They're ranked 24th. So, I mean, still, that's about where they were ranked with Bill Callahan that final year. So,
Yeah,
I don't know.
He was the guru. Right here, I'm just reading a couple of K.C. Jones there. Easton being paid by the team. No shot to getting the 40 points. Callahan's the best backup quarterback.
Stoney Keeley says, and he's a big offensive line guy. He says hard not to give it an F, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, if what we have seen is a C from Easton, good Lord, what an F may look like. And how'd you put it, Ross? You said an F would be.
I said an F would be us three plus Bert, who's sitting back here, and Joseph probably on the offensive line.
Yeah. I mean, they would have to be, you would literally have to get people that never played football, it feels like, to get an F. I will say this. Listen, I'm not trying to be
with Callahan. It says right here.
I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Bill Callahan, but this has not been. He has nowhere near lived up to the hype, whether rightfully put on him or not. But I would say that he earned a lot of respect as far as being known as an offensive line coach. He has not lived up to it. Now, you can tell me, well, it's all about the ingredients a chef can get, but I watch a lot of cooking competitions, and I've seen a lot of 5-star chefs and Michelin star chefs turn a TV dinner into a 5-star meal. So that one doesn't really fly with me. So and it sounds to me, I mean, he's done a lot of grocery shopping, right? Because this is what he went and shopped for, according to Easton. And Dan Moore hasn't looked that good. Lloyd Cushenberry hasn't looked that good. Kevin Zeitler hasn't looked that good. And those are supposed to be guys that are pretty important to the team. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. He actually kind of alluded to Easton that like maybe he didn't get to pick his groceries on the free agency. I don't know if he meant that or not, but he alluded to that.
Well, I think he said the shopping aisle was limited.
Right.
Is what he was alluding to. So
the best that was out there.
Yeah.
Or second best anyway. And obviously to be out there, being a tackle, they thought they could do better.
Here's how I'm at. I don't know how anybody cannot put a D or an F on Bill Callahan's grading.
Well, it's the offensive line play. Granted, everything's not on them, but man, all eyeballs are probably on the offensive line almost as much as they are on the quarterback.
The only guy that we saw improve was Peter Skoronski.
Yep.
The guy that we all thought when he was drafted would be a Pro Bowl guard.
Yeah.
And he's just living up to what we all expected. Where's the All-Pro guard? Maybe he gets there this year as the season progresses and he can stay healthier and all that. But everything else, like even J.C. Latham starting off as a right tackle again, was fine. It wasn't exceptional. Now, I have faith from what I've seen from J.C. Latham last year, from what I've seen J.C. Latham in college, from the pedigree he has, the body transformation he has. I don't know how much this hip will hurt this long-term projection for
I'm super
2025.
nervous about it too, man.
But I have faith that he could be a tackle in this league. But it's not just about being a tackle in this league. It's about being one of the best tackles in this league. And that's what Bill Callahan has been billed to for years as the guy that's going to get you to that leap. We haven't seen him get anybody to an exponential leap on a consistent basis.
And that's kind of hard to believe after getting him signed and bringing him in. I'm thinking, boy, we about to get after people. I don't know. They kind of getting after us.
I just don't know where the wins are at, right? Where are the wins for this offensive line? As Stoney Keeley asked, what are the wins, though? What has this offensive line actually done well? Maybe it's the run game you could point to in certain situations, but it's not been consistent.
Well, you can say the run game, last year, who would have thought Pollard just watching the season had 1,000 yards, just like, Calvin Ridley. Was it meaningful 1,000 yards? Because there were times I thought maybe we should lean into the running game even more because that'll help make your pass game and your quarterback help your quarterback out. I just believe that head coach Callahan, believes in throwing the football. I really do. I think that is his way of moving the ball, even if you don't have a great offensive line. I mean, good examples like what's going on with Joe Burrow. There's a couple quarterbacks that keep getting injured, and sometimes you could say it's the quarterback, or is it because he's taking too many hits?
Yeah.
And so that's my fear, and that's why I'm so concerned with
You're seeing it right now in year 2 with Jaden Daniels, right? Jaden Daniels has not looked as good as last year, and he's getting hit and sacked at a pretty high rate.
It's tough.
And that's happening. Hey, listen, we'll continue this coming up next. We'll continue. We'll get to Ben, who wants to talk about the offensive line out in Dixon. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons right here on 104.5 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Door. 615-737-1045 is the number. We're broadcasting live from the Circus Sports studio. Kentucky's largest sportsbook can now be found at Circus Sports at Kentucky Downs.
He can't even get it out. He's so frustrated.
I am. I'm just all hot. I get myself all riled up constantly. And this team has me depressed, has me mad. Like, I go through the 5 stages of grief in like a span of a minute. Let's go to Ben.
Ooh, wait. Real quick, though, I'm going to ask this question. It's great on the chat right here. John Houston, we were talking about Bill Callahan and his coaching of the offensive line. So he gave a great example. He said, J.C. Latham, what is his ceiling, you think? And that'll tell you if he's a good coach. Is he Jake Matthews with the Falcons level, or is he Trent Williams level when you're talking about all-pro? Based off of his talent that he has.
Yeah, based off the talent that he has, he should be all-pro level.
He should be
He's
Williams
got
level.
He's got the mentality. Yeah. He's got the the body. I mean, he's got the
athleticism.
He's got the athleticism, got the strength.
He hasn't reached that.
He hasn't reached it. Still young, but he hasn't reached it. You know, like some of these other guys, they pop. Look at Joe Alt over there at San Diego or at Los Angeles Chargers. Mm-hmm. Now, we all knew that Joe Alt was going to be better than J.C. Latham, but I know that J.C. Latham could be at least an all-pro level tackle. Now, Joe Alt is obviously already trending that way, but we knew that was the case. But here's the thing, is that it didn't matter if he was on the right side or the left side, he looked good right away. Anybody name offensive line coach for the Chargers?
Nope.
Off the top of their head?
I bet he's a guru. Nah, just kidding. I have no idea.
Mike Devlin.
Oh, I've heard of that name.
I think he is from the Ravens, if I'm not mistaken, because I think I remember that name popping up as the guy that wanted to come here to coach the offensive line at some point. Yes, he was the assistant offensive line coach for the Baltimore Ravens in 2022 and 2023 when Greg Roman was the offensive coordinator of the Ravens, and now Greg Roman is the offensive coordinator for the Chargers. So there you go.
You have it.
So there's a lot of cohesiveness, I guess you could say, because I do think that Ross brings up a good point, and we'll talk more about that point in just a second, because I do want to go to Ben and Dixie, who's been waiting. Ben,
sorry about that.
You're on with Blaine and Zach.
Hello. Thank you guys for taking my call again. Second time I've called in.
All right.
I appreciate that, Ben. Yeah.
So I was listening to the Easton's, call he did with you guys earlier. And I just had a couple thoughts. I wanted to see what y'all thought of them. First point. Sacks, obviously they're an O-line issue, but they're also a QB issue. And I don't think it's because Cam Ward's going to be a league leader in sacks year over year or something to that effect. But, he's a rookie. He's holding the ball. He's looking for big plays. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think as time goes on, he'll get better at that. He's trying to scramble. Sometimes you got to kill a play. And there was a couple times last game, he didn't kill the play. He kept, waiting for something to happen or started scrambling, and it just, time ran out. The second thing, in regards to penalties on the O-line and penalties in general, there's this really good article came out today from Titan Size, and it was penalties are based on talent more than coaching was the summation of it. They brought up a good stat from Mike Vrabel's tenure. Early on 2018, they were first, so lowest in penalties. Near the end, 2022 and 2023, they were 28th and 27th in penalties. We're around the same ballpark right now. So, there's blame, obviously, on Callahan and both of them. And there's, some blame on that O-line, but it's not just that. I want to hear what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I agree, Ben. It's the more that I guess we all talk about this penalty conversation, the more you have to almost say it must be a talent issue. But then I also look at the Ravens, who have a lot of talent, and they still have a lot of high number of penalties. So every situation is a little different. I guess you could say there's always outliers every year. But I do think that a lot of this is, I think a lot of it needs to be on the players, even if it has been consistent. Because I've talked about before, Mike Vrabel wasn't good with penalties. His teams weren't good with penalties either.
No.
So I do think it's a little bit of on the players, but it does make you wonder, what are they doing to correct it? We know that they're coaching it, right? Like, nobody's going in saying, oh, well, hey, you got a penalty here, blah, blah, blah. We know they're trying to coach it out of them. That was the whole point of the emphasis of the offseason. But is your message reaching the proper, the best way, I guess is the best way. But
that's true.
That was a terrible butchering on my part.
Everybody trying to respond to your actual coaching, and are you getting those kind of coaching tips and points throughout the game? I'm cool with the penalties, and I don't know if it correlates to winning or losing. That's kind of how I looked at it, because when that same stat I saw, Vrabel, when they started losing, it seems like the penalties even got worse. So you just never know. One thing it does say, typically those teams who have a lot of penalties aren't as talented. Now, that's not always. We just talked about the Ravens and everybody else. So for the Titans, we can sit around here and make up excuses for our quarterback, our defensive line or what have you. But at the end of the day, you got to block that guy in front of you. Let's just make it simple. Whether the quarterback is scrambling around or not, the quarterback scrambled around to throw his first touchdown play. Did the offensive line get a plus on that? Because he scrambled around to buy more time. So ultimately, it all figures itself out. They've given up 11 sacks. However, whoever fault it is, whether it was the quarterback, the running back, the offensive line, they take it as a unit. That's the only time you're going to talk about the offensive line is when they get a penalty and they give up sacks. Regardless if it was all their fault or not. Well, let's say out of 11 sacks so far, 8 sacks are I'm just throwing out a number. So what the majority of those plays are built on the offensive line. So goes your offensive line, so goes your team. We know this. And they put a lot of resources, and it's still not working, regardless of Latham hurt or not.
Even with Latham in there, it wasn't working.
Right. And you also have to have plan B. Like, you should have had a veteran backup swing tackle immediately. I don't care if you would have overpaid the guy $7 million to stand on the sideline. I would have. The last 2 years, that wasn't going to happen. I was going to make sure, if I'm the GM, that is not happening. Not going with somebody who are unproven or had success in this league. Especially if you believe that you're going to win some games and you're trying to protect your freaking franchise quarterback that you just drafted. If not, you should have just waited till the next year.
Well, my thing is that there were available veterans out there that have proven to be a good backup swing tackle that have been paid a lot to basically sit on the sidelines, right?
It would have been well worth it.
One of them's playing up at Cleveland, but also has connections to Bill Callahan with his time at Washington. And this was a guy that I've kind of been asking the Titans to sign for like 4 years. It feels
he's still unavailable?
No, I was
going to say.
Other teams signed him to be their backup tackle. And right now, Cornelius Lucas in the offseason, who, again, he's 34 years old. And he's always been kind of a swing tackle, backup guy. He's got a few seasons of starts under his belt, but he's a steady guy. You can rely on him to know what to do, when to do it, not have a lot of penalties. And the Cleveland Browns signed a 34-year-old backup swing tackle to a 2-year, $6.5 million deal.
See? All day.
And he is actually right now having to play for them because of injuries and stuff. And I bet they're very glad they have him. And to me, you had the cap space, you had the cash to do that, but they were like, oh no, bring my boy Oliudo over here. Man, he had that 1 year of experience over in Minnesota where he was terrible. But hey, I'm glad we got him.
He was?
Yeah. Oh, let's get Blake Kantz over here. He had that one game where he went in at left guard in the playoffs for the Cleveland, and he didn't give up a sack in 10 snaps. Oh, and like, this is what they do. And I was just told that, hey, C-grade Bill Callahan got to pick his groceries a little bit more this season, and that's who he picked. He picked Blake Kantz and he picked Oliudo as your backup tackles, which we all knew weren't the best case scenarios for this team to get. You could have gotten better. And then they decide not to even start either of them at right tackle this week. They started their practice squad guy.
I don't even understand how that happened.
Just saying. C was way too generous. Now you guys got me down thinking F.
Hey, I said D plus, baby. I'm like, some of this stuff you just can't make up, man. This is unreal.
Yeah. It's like you got to be able to do both. You got to be able to build depth in free agency. You got to be able to build and draft, develop, and retain. You can't there is no one size fits all philosophy. It all works in tandem. And this Tennessee Titans defense said, Oli Udoh, Blake Hance, our starters go down. That's who we're going to lean on. Whew. All right.
Like Easton,
everybody could see that was a bad idea.
Easton kind of, and I don't know if this is fully true or not, but he kind of made it sound like, too, he didn't get, like, all the people he wanted even this year throughout free agency. Like, I don't know what you expect. Do you expect Lane Johnson and Trent Williams to be free agents? Teams are just going to give up their premium tackles? That ain't happening. You got to get these veteran backups, like you're saying, and develop them, continue to develop them so that you can have some sustainable pieces on that line, and we're clearly not doing that.
Nope. We sure aren't. All right. We'll continue talking about the Tennessee Titans offensive line. We'll continue talking about, I don't know. Well, I guess we'll hear from Brian Callahan when we come back as well. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons right here on 104.5 The Zone.
Speechless. One of the marks of good parent is they warn their kids about danger, who to trust and what to avoid, and how to make smarter choices. Hey, folks, it's Blaine Bishop for Eurofix. And Eurofix repairs European vehicles, and Eurofix believes in warning their customers, too. In one case, Eurofix wrote a $5,500 refund check to a customer. Who does that? Eurofix polices themselves. Why? Because not every auto shop tells the full story. Some oversell. Others cut corners. Some just may not know what to do. So you could pay for something you don't need to. Eurofix makes quality repairs at below dealer pricing and has been since 1999. You also get a free 15-minute no-wrench inspection and a 3-year, 36,000-mile nationwide warranty on all the work Eurofix performs. And rental cars are available with every appointment. So stay on the road because you don't want to be on the tow truck. And you won't be if you work with Eurofix. Family owned for over a quarter century. 5 locations, all in the state of Tennessee. And all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX or myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here. 104.5 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 is the number. We're going to go to Dirty Bird in Laverne, who has apparently accused Blaine of saying something that I do not recall Blaine saying, but we're going to see. You can concur?
I did.
He said it.
All right. Okay.
Okay.
Dirty Bird, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Well, first off, before I even say anything, Blaine, you are a legend. I love you.
You trying to leg with me.
Don't think anything bad. But yeah, I seem to remember somebody right before they got off the show, they said, "Hey, dog fans, when you hear a little whining dog, that
wasn't
you know
me.
what happened." No, I'm pretty sure it was you. Y'all
No, I don't even.
that.
But reason why I say that wasn't me because I don't talk like that. No, like if somebody's talking about a whiny dog or something. No.
Okay, well, whoever talked about my whiny dog, they ain't whining.
Say it was Slay. Slay. I didn't say.
I don't know.
You trying to find it?
So,
I don't think I would have said that. But if I did, it is what it is.
It's all fun and love, my friend.
Oh,
anyway,
no doubt.
I just wanted to. I just wanted the best for y'all, man. I hope y'all Titans do better, man. I know y'all are in a rough patch, but so are my Falcons, man. So I hope y'all's Titans do good, and congratulations on getting that butt kicked.
Yeah. Well, with the Titans right now got a whole bunch of meows.
Yeah.
They got a whole bunch of meows.
Well, my Falcons ain't got much better, man. We beat McCarthy, but I don't think that's really much to talk about.
Oh.
I know you guys may have a defense over there in Atlanta.
Hey, wait.
Where did that come from? I was shocked.
Hey, keep Dirty Bird on.
Let me see if I said it. Let me see.
I think they're going to flip the curse on Georgia in this game. Listen, I'm not very confident in it. You're in Knoxville. I think that's the game changer for me in this game. I'm going 24-17.
24-20, Tennessee.
Wow, okay.
Yes, they get over the snide. Yeah, they're going to take that dog home. He's going to be barking because he's going to be whining.
I hear it.
And you did the noises.
Checkmate.
Man, Ross betrayed you.
Oh, no, I'm glad because I did not remember saying that.
I knew it. I knew
for sure. I was with you when Ross told us, Dirty Bird, we'll have to let you go real quick.
I remember saying that.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that to our attention, Dirty Bird.
I sound like Slay. My bad, Slay.
I thought it was Slay, too. Because I was like, maybe he's got you confused with Slay.
He said it, though.
Yeah.
Because that's not how I speak. But, yeah, that was definitely. Oh, good job there, Ross.
Oh, my God.
That was hilarious. Oh, I do not recall doing that.
Listen, I didn't remember it either.
Oh, man, they were doing a whole bunch of meowing.
Yeah.
They were not. They were doing a whole bunch of barking.
Okay, so Cam Ward, per usual, is supposed to be up on the podium at 2:25 p.m. allegedly every Wednesday. Usually that doesn't happen. Usually happens like within the last 5 minutes of the show after we're already off the air. But we got it up, and if he gets up to the podium, we'll carry it. Until then, we'll just give it.
Yeah, to make sure we play that.
Slay's in the chat, and he goes, and y'all put that on me.
Yeah, that was my bad.
Y'all.
My bad. That was on me.
I thought it was.
But I did not present it that way, but I definitely said it.
Let's go to Captain Tony. Captain Tony, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Oh, man.
Hey, good afternoon, guys. How you doing? And since Blaine's forgetting things that he had said, you remember that $100 he said he was going to give me last week?
Oh, man, they're coming for you.
I know.
So,
yeah, that was $100 Zach promised to take us out to eat with.
I just wanted to talk about the Titans in two phases. Number one, I've got my personal opinion on them.
Oh, man.
But I also have a fan perspective on them. I don't know who was calling for Brian Callahan's head on a platter, but I need y'all to chill out because y'all were asking for Denard Wilson to be the head coach after 1 week, and then he just let Matthew Stafford run all over him in the second half. Y'all better be careful what you wish for, because every time the Titans fans wish for something worse comes in the stocking next year. So would y'all just calm the heck down for Captain Tony just for a week? Can y'all just chill out? I don't even want to say relax because that's all y'all say is relax. Well, none of y'all are relaxing now. I see some major issues with the Titans right now. You got a franchise quarterback that is not able to be protected. He has been sacked 11 times in the first 2 weeks. We don't have to go through the injuries of quarterbacks right now. There's 5 of them that ain't starting this week. You got to protect your man. The guy's got a real good arm, but our line can't protect him well enough to move drives down the field. To me personally, Zach, this is just my eyes. Y'all can tell me if I'm wrong, and I listen to y'all. I take y'all's perspective, and I put it into my perspective. So it's good to have multiple perspectives. Mm-hmm. But I think the Titans look slow. To me, it looks like they're slower than the elite teams need to be, like speed-wise.
Oh, let me tell you something. That has been an issue for years. Because I came up to that conclusion like 5 or 6 years ago. I'm watching Red Zone. I'm sitting there watching Red Zone. And I texted Mike Herndon and I go, "Why is every team faster than us?" I mean,
that's the talent gap.
Yeah,
you want to have them guys that are like known to be really fast and good, like performing really fast and good, right? But again, my personal opinion, Devontae Adams was all over L'Jarius Sneed on Sunday, minus one play in the end zone. I mean, he was beating him, and he was getting enough separation that these were catchable balls from rookies. There was space, and there was one particular one where I think Sneed wanted to go to the middle of the field, but Devontae just kind of like took a step to the inside and went outside and just wide open. I felt like they were getting beat. I'm not disappointed. I expected this because as a fan, my expectations weren't that high. But I don't want to hear all the Titans fans when we finally win a game go, "Oh, now we finally found something." Because in the NFL, you got to be able to stack weeks together.
Yes.
And until I see the Titans stack weeks together and get their execution game together, especially penalty-wise, it's going to be hard for me to view them differently. And I'll hang up and listen. Appreciate it.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I could see why he's the captain. Because, I mean, I agree with everything he said. I think the whole speed issue has been a problem for a long time for the Tennessee Titans. Yeah. I've said that, and I can even remember when Vrabel and Carthon first paired up, they were like, "Oh, we're going to get more speed," and just they were still slower than everybody else.
That's when they got Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, and a lot of it has to do with, I think, football instincts. Okay, I've come to learn. I feel like a lot of this is like being able to execute your job and know where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be it also adds an element of speed because you're not in your head overthinking it or not in your head trying to remember what was my assignment after the ball snapped.
Right, being robotic. There's something to that.
Yeah, playing speed.
Yeah, playing speed, no doubt about it. Yeah. I would say that was I was really elite at that.
Yeah. And listen.
That's why I laugh when I'm looking, because if you know what you're supposed to be looking at,
right,
then everybody should be able to do it. If not, then after a period of time, if you don't start doing it, then you're not the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just the way it's got to be, because that's, what this league is really built on. That's what I learned after my rookie year. Like, you have to understand your assignment, but also where you're supposed to get your reads and keys throughout every play and where you're supposed to be looking. And every play is so different, especially from a lens of a safety. But every position requires certain things, and sometimes it requires you to depend on other people to give you calls too when you're talking about a guys in 3-point stance on defense or even offensive linemen. So I think that's what's going on when you see speed. I think it's also just speed in general. The team isn't as fast as most elite teams.
And they were trying. I mean, they went and tried to get DK and stuff.
But also DK, they got Ridley.
Technique leads into speed, your play speed on the games and all that kind of stuff. And, having confidence in the play that you're running allows you to have speed. Like, all of this can play into speed in different ways. And I will say this, too. I agree with this idea, and I said it last week or maybe even Monday while we were at Two Rivers Ford, was I'm treating Brian Callahan and this team's performance week to week like I treated Will Levis. I'm not going to get too high off of one good game or one average game where you may walk away with the win. You have to show it consistently, and I thought he put it best. You got to stack weeks.
Oh, that was no doubt about that. Back to back, and that's really consistency. And this team has shown none of that, even 2 games or all of last year under head coach Callahan. But one thing I did disagree with the caller is that he said that Sneed played bad. That's not true.
I will disagree with that, because I did think that Sneed was kind of right around wherever he needed to be. Yeah. He had some bad plays.
Yes, he did.
But he did not play overall a bad game.
Yeah. He said he didn't play well. So, and I get it, because Adams, I would say probably caught like 60-something yards. What was it, 67 yards or so on him? per se, and I would think that's the bar. And just think now, we're just talking about this is the first time a guy's played a full game in literally probably 300 days or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Or close to that. So I would say this is the bar, like that's the lowest he'll play, and then after this, we're going to continually see him scale up.
That was better than anything he put on tape last year.
And that's better than any other guy on the team at corner. So let's start there, and then let's see if he can stay healthy and start getting a little smoother and a lot more confident. I think there was some confusion on a couple plays as well. Not sure who's responsible in zone, that maybe he was the closest guy there, but maybe it wasn't actually his fault. So,
I don't have good news for you right now, Blaine, because the injury report has just, or the practices, the people who participated in practice has just come out.
And I know Latham didn't practice, so that was my biggest.
L'Jarius Sneed did not practice because of a back injury.
Oh, no!
Not knee injury. It was his back is why he's being held out today.
It was his back.
It was his back. According to Buck Rising, no sign of L'Jarius Sneed. Back, not knee. J.C. Latham, Tavondre Sweat, Bryce Oliver, and Kevin Zeitler.
Oh, I saw Bryce Oliver. He got hurt on that special team and made a tackle. It was his knee, I bet you.
But none of those guys have played. That is 1, 2, 3, 4 starters and 1 starter on special teams.
Well, I always wait till Thursday, because then if they are limited on Thursday, that means there is a shot.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to panic on a Wednesday, but dang.
Only 24 more hours before you can panic.
Oh, man.
So I hate to keep depressing myself and other Titans fans, but we're far beyond the point of return at this point.
Well, someone's got to depress them. Everybody else is like, I think they're going to beat the
Bulldogs. Just play that.
Well, so we have not. We're coming up on about 3 years since the Titans have won in back-to-back games. The last time, Vrabel's final season, we never won 2 weeks in a row. 2022, they beat the Colts on the road 24-17, and then went to. Or at home 19-10, and then they went to Houston when Malik Willis started and won 17-10.
Yeah, Derrick Henry had 50 rushes that game.
Yeah, and that's the last time, because remember, we went on that big skid after that and end the season, losing to Jacksonville in the win and get in game. So it's been almost 3 years since we've even seen back-to-back wins in Tennessee.
Yeah, that's why I can't remember stuff, because I start saying I don't want to remember stuff.
Exactly.
Man, oh, man, it's just horrible, man. I think I would play one play if I could just show somebody what to do, but I don't think I'm capable.
They just need to have, how
the hype guy.
Dare used to come around to your school to tell you not to do drugs, the Dare program. You need to have a Dare program for this football team where you go in and you tell them how, what to do just for one day. You get one day with Blaine.
Oh, man. I don't know if they ready for that. I don't know if they ready for that, man.
I think they need it.
I don't know, man. I think they need to understand once you clip the chin strap. Hey, man, this is about business now, man. We about to go hunt.
Can I ask you a question, Blaine?
Somebody's asking you a question to ask me.
Isn't John Ojukwu still the best option at right tackle outside of J.C. Latham?
Watch this. Who are the free agents that are available?
Well, I don't know. I was hoping. Listen, Jedrick Wills is allegedly taking the year off. Former Cleveland Browns left tackle who got injured. And he's apparently taking the full year off to get healthy. Yeah, I don't know if he really needs the full year to get healthy, but I would at least be calling maybe Jedrick Wills is saying, "Hey, how's your knee going?"
So that's the only option we got.
Maybe Chris Hubbard is still out there because everybody else has been pretty much taken up.
Hubbard from the Bengals, right?
Well, we can always probably find Leroy Watson around.
Where's that one guy that went to Western, the Hilltopper, that tackle, the backup swing guy? He was with the Jets. He signed with the Jets, and they thought they had signed him with the Titans, and then they just kind of put the wrong.
George Fant.
Fant, yes.
Yeah.
Athlete.
He's, I think, starting somewhere.
Oh, no, that's who I wanted them to get. Because that guy could start on a lot of teams.
He's on the Commanders right now, I believe.
He's on the Commanders, but he must be. He must just be sitting back there.
Oh, I would have taken him all day long.
Yeah, the Commanders signed George Fant August 19th, 2025. So he was out there all the way to August 19th.
Oh, I know they could have got him.
What are they doing?
I think he actually lives here too, so that would have been beneficial.
The Commanders' tackles are Laramie Tunzel, and then they drafted Josh Connerly in the first round this year. So Fant's just sitting there.
I want to bring something up. This is being backed up by Stoney Keeley. You remember Ross earlier was talking about how it doesn't really seem that the run game isn't on the same page as the run game and all this kind of stuff. So Stoney says in the F&M Bank Chat, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live, to Ross's point, the run game doesn't seem to align with the personnel the head coach seems to want to trot out and throw the ball. It almost feels like two different offenses at the same time, at times. And Ross, in the chat, do you want to just tell everybody what you said in reply to that?
I'll have to find it.
Okay, well, I'll just read it. Exactly, Stoney. I'm just thinking they aren't on the same page, which could be contributing to some of the questionable situational errors on offense. Stoney further expanded, man, Ross is onto something here with this juxtaposition of the run and pass games. Could feed into the rhythm and feel questions we've been asking, the instinct and feel of the game. Run game needs tight ends that can clear a MFer out and wrap. Pass game needs guys that can run. Pass game wins out, but run game suffers, therefore ineffective. So what do you think about that?
It just makes me think, as I said last year, it's two different people's making calls.
It could be. Because we know that Brian Callahan or Bill Callahan is designing to Brian Callahan's own admissions. I think it was on the Athletic Football Show last year over the summer. He said that the design of the run game is coming from Bill Callahan. Could he be having maybe the play calls are coming in because he's double checking with old dad which run plays, and then he has to feed the run plays, and he has to decide if that's the run play he wants to run and all this kind of stuff? Could be. I don't know. Could be onto something. The show could be onto something. All right.
No, not us.
Yeah, we're
maybe
all...
Ross.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So of course, we're going to break. Cam Ward just came up at the podium.
We will
play Cam Ward during the break for the people on YouTube, and we'll also keep playing Cam Ward when we come back. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
Moving on from my first pre-snap, then just giving my guys a chance because we won, especially Ellick and Red, they won a lot of the backside routes that I didn't get to, where I had to step up. Then just really getting better in the pocket, moving within the pocket, keeping a short stride, getting the ball out.
I think they officially timed it on a touchdown pass that jammed the ball for over 8 seconds. What did it feel like during that time? And maybe when you look back at it, is it pretty hard to believe that you held on the ball for 8 seconds and were still able to get a pass on it?
Oh no, it's something I've done before in my career. I think the best thing about it is that just the receivers and the O-line, they continue to play outside of it. Especially receivers just running around the back of the end zone, finding space, and they give me the opportunity to throw it to Ellick. But that's something we practiced scrum drill, and it came to life in the game.
That play, Cam, though, is that an example of you still being able to do what it is you want to do out there in the NFL the way you were in college?
I think so. I think the biggest difference from college and NFL is just the rush in the pocket. Whether it's from the D tackles or the defensive end, it gets there faster in college. But at the end of the day, you can make the same amount of plays.
What do you feel like, Cam, you made the biggest strides from week 1 to week 2, and maybe what are some areas that got to go to another level for you guys to start scoring more and winning games?
I think attention to detail, getting in and out of huddle as fast, and I also think just the overall urgency has to continue to go up each week. And then just emphasize scoring the football, not settling for field goals, and then just continue playing together.
What's the biggest thing that needs to change for you guys to finish strong in the second half and in the fourth quarter?
I just think we got to continue to play hard. At times, whether it's a low first or in the end of the game, whatever quarter it is, there could be a low there, but we just got to continue to fight through it. And that's something that, a coach can't coach you. You got to come within the locker room. We just got to continue to get better.
What are some of the things that stand out to you when you look at the Colts defense?
I think they play real hard, especially their defensive front. I think their DB core is solid. I think they know how to play well together. I just think overall defensively, their DC, he's going to put those guys in good situations. So, we got to end up making plays on the perimeter, making plays in the run game, and, continue to stay on schedule.
Callahan had mentioned that green light that you have, if Elliott is out there one-on-one, the safety shaded over, et cetera. Like, how much do you like being able to have control of orchestrating a big play like that?
I like it a lot because it simplifies the game. At the end of the day, you can always take a one-on-one matchup. It's just really your guy versus their guy, and our guy got to win at the end of the day. So me and him going to continue to connect on plays like that. He reps those plays every day in practice. He knows what releases he loves doing. So, he makes my job easier.
Knowing how much you do like to get vertical like that, there were a few times a lot that may have been open underneath and things like that. Like, is it tough to come off that vertical desire and go to some of those checkdowns sometimes?
No, it's not tough coming off of it. I think it's just more realizing faster, whether it's the coverage or whether if the DB's playing so over the top of the receiver, you got to get through it faster. And so I just think just over time, the more we rep a play, the more install we have on the plays, just continue to get better for me.
I know there are throwaways and drops that factor in, but when you see a completion percentage just a touch north of 50, does that concern you? And are you conscious of that number at all? You have a target or anything like that?
Nah, I really don't care about completion percentage. I want to score touchdowns. I want to win football games. We 0-2, and so we just gotta continue to stick to the process. We have to get a win this week in the divisional game. That matters a lot. Just try to get the foot rolling.
Cam, how would you say you are embracing the divisional opener, just in general, but also with it being against the Colts who are playing so well?
I embrace it a lot. The team embraces it. We know every divisional game, that's when best football has to be played, both sides of the ball. So we know the stakes of this game, but at the end of the day, we just got to continue to play good football for 4 quarters. We can't, just play for good for 3 quarters. We got to continue to play the whole game.
How much did you know, Cam, about Alec's style of play way back when he was drafted, with you? How much did you know about that, and what have you learned about it since? What have you learned about his style?
I knew a lot of him, especially him being in Pac-12 at Stanford. I got a chance to play against him a couple times, but he's always been a physical receiver who's good at 50-50 balls.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone. Let's go over to St. Thomas Sports Park where Cam Ward is talking to the press.
How fast he is and how it's supposed to be is. So it's good that, we were able to steal him. He's going to continue to make plays for us, but he for sure makes my job easier.
Brian brought up how comfortable you are giving feedback and receiving feedback from the coaching staff as you kind of figure out what works and what doesn't. How valuable have the games been to kind of determining that as far as the playbook versus what you guys may have seen out here in practice?
It's been easier, especially with Callie giving me that authority, whether I like a play or I don't like a play, where I want to cut it throughout the week or if I want to leave it. But I think the best thing about it that, he's allowing me to, every game, just get more free and more free. He's opening up for me. He's making me see it from not only my point of view, but the whole perspective point of view, especially the play caller's point of view, his point of view. They also just continue to, put the ball in space, let my guys make plays.
What's the biggest key for you guys to extend drives this week, get into the end zone more than you have, and how can you influence the offense?
I would say where we're not the best at right now is probably once we hit midfield. It could be a load there, or before we get to the red zone. I think that's the more we got to emphasize, bringing our best ball, bringing more urgency right there. Just got to continue to, try to gain explosives in the run game and the pass game.
Do you feel like your teammates are matching your mentality, your intensity? Is that something you have to teach them to do, or is that something you kind of just want to see them come to on their own time?
Everybody has their own mentality. As a team, we have our own mentality. But I think the biggest thing is, like, we grown men. We don't really need someone to motivate us every day. We know what we signed up for. We just got to, lock in 4 quarters. We try to do that this week, try to get our first win.
Brian said that, your eyes usually are always downfield, even as you're moving in the pocket to try and create a play down the field. Do you feel like, though, that with this offense kind of struggling, maybe you're going to have to take off and use your legs a little bit more, maybe just to move the chains and give the team a spark?
Nah, I think we average 4 yards a run, so I don't think I have to really run that much. I would say just really key situations or a certain coverage they play where I have to run and get a first down. But the scheme just allows us all to, play within our talents. So, I'm not too worried about that.
How problematic is DeForest Buckner's length? His interior line was about 6'6".
He's different, especially, what he's done in his career. He makes sure that, he tries to get his one-on-ones. But, he's someone that you have to get the ball out, fast to get. Don't give him a chance to get started. And they really try to continue to play on schedule.
What adjustments can you make to kind of better protect the ball in the pocket? Obviously, you don't want to fumble like you had in the fourth quarter last game on Sunday. What adjustments do you think you can make there in that front?
Just keeping 2 hands on the ball. Just always knowing where my outlet is, and trying to get grass in the new stadium.
Who ended up with that football run from the first touchdown pass? What are you going to do with it?
I don't know yet. We're gonna see about that one. Me and Elliot still got to talk.
Still talking about it? Okay. He seemed like he was deferring to you, but
me and him still got to talk about it. I'm trying to get him a second one this week.
Callahan said he wanted to see more continuity up front. How have you kind of adjusted to what seems to be a little bit of plug and play, especially on that right side?
I think it's really my job helping them, especially with just the knowing why Coach Callahan is calling this certain play, and then also understanding the protection standpoint of it, and then just giving my guys a chance to make a play, getting it out fast, and just helping them out. Especially last week, I took a couple bad sacks when the ball should have been out, but that's just something that I'm learning every day, playing with new guys, especially like you said when you rotate the offensive linemen, then just helping those guys out.
New graphs to anyone in particular wanting it, or is that just some kind of a joke?
Oh no, I ain't mentioning yet. It'll get mentioned eventually. But I mean, we practice on grass. Why we don't play on grass?
Last one, Court. This is Florida Miami week. That was obviously a big week for you. You only got to play it one time, but your feelings on that memory and that rivalry?
That rivalry was, especially when I was there, it was way better than the Florida State rivalry. Florida rivalry was way better than that one. But I think you know what Miami doing this year, especially offensively. Them boys, they still making plays out there. Carson have a hell of a year right now. And then defensively, them boys flying around, they playing together. But I mean, we see which way Miami going. I think we all know where this game's finna go. They got to come to Hard Rock, so it ain't easy to win over there at Hard Rock. Appreciate it.
All right, that was QB1 for the Tennessee Titans, Cam Ward, doing his media availability with the media. Every time I hear him talk, Blaine, and I think we probably say this after every time you hear him talk, but he sounds just so much like a vet already. Yeah. But he's also saying stuff today that you have echoed since I've been on the show pretty much about the mentality and how these are grown men getting paychecks and getting paid to play this game. I can't be babysitting.
As I was when it asked that question, I'm like, whoa. That's going beyond leadership. Hey, man, if it's not important enough to that guy, then it's never going to be important enough.
Yeah.
So he has to realize that on his own. So a little different than a parent teaching someone something and they don't want to do it until they fail at something and go, well, maybe I'll try it this way, okay? So yeah, he's solid. He's ready to rock and roll. The whole point of this whole season was about Cam Ward, but it's also about what's around him. And I think they thought they had the offensive line at least put together where they could at least protect him. Well, that's failed them based off of injuries and play, by the way. And I think Calvin Ridley, to this point, is failing him to a certain extent. He doesn't have a number one. Right now, if you want to say who's the biggest threat right now, Alec Manor would scare people more just based off his production. I don't think anybody fears anybody going into a game. I think they're trying to address, what they are really good at in Calvin Ridley the first game, and then, he kind of disappeared. So he kind of in this game was just up and down. Those boot plays that he got for 21 and 26, I'm not going to say this, but other receivers could have caught that play too.
Yeah, I mean,
it wasn't he beat somebody one-on-one. It was a designed, really well-designed play. So they got to catch it, obviously. So, right now I'm really concerned about the offense. Defense is what it is. I think my expectations were somewhat low, too, with no elite pass rusher. And then if Snead can actually stay healthy, and then now he comes on the injury report with the back. But that doesn't mean he won't practice tomorrow.
Yeah.
Limited probably, but hopefully he can continue to get better, and then I think that will help the pass rush in this case get more pressure on the quarterback. Maybe not result in sacks, but more pressure.
Got to earn that fear from the other team, and they have not earned that yet.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Neither is Snead.
No,
not yet.
My favorite answer from that, and I want to get y'all's take on it before we get out of here, was when him asking about using his legs to run more. And basically what he's saying is, I'm still scrambling to throw the football, and I love that, but I'm curious to hear y'all's take on that. Do y'all think he needs to be looking to run more when he gets out of the pocket, or keep looking downfield?
No, I like the how judicial he's been with it. I mean, sometimes there was one time that third down play, last offensive play of the game, where he had a huge running lane to go and get the first and possibly put up another touchdown later on and extend the drive, and he didn't, because he went with the 4 verts and he went with Chimere DK in the end zone. That would have been a time that you do want him to use his legs. But for the most part, I think he's made good decisions.
Yeah, I'm probably right there with that. Probably 85, 90%. Yeah, his decisions have been, as far as running and throwing the ball. To be honest, I'm biased too. I like my quarterbacks to be pocket passers. That's why I like Joe Burrow the best.
Yeah.
And I want you to only run if you have to and be capable to move the chains. I don't want you to be a running quarterback. I want you to run when it's available, have enough. I don't think he's a scrambling quarterback in this league. I never thought he was going to be that kind of athlete. I thought he was just going to be a quarterback that can maneuver in the pocket.
Kind of like a Russell Wilson.
Yeah. Probably not as much as Russell Wilson, but I would say, is a young Russell Wilson. But right now, he's just a buy-yourself-time pocket passer. And that's what you want your quarterback to start off. And if he can run, that's a extra, smooth cream on top.
There it is. All right, polls.
How would you grade Bill Callahan so far in his Titans tenure? A got 0%, B to C got 18%, D got 50%, and F got 32%. And then Blaine's poll, will the Colts punt this Sunday? Yes got 81%, no got 19%.
19%.
I don't know. We'll see tomorrow. We'll talk more about the Colts tomorrow. We're also going to go around the SEC as well tomorrow. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons right here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Store. 3HL's up next, and in the meantime...
and in between time, peace.
I love living in Middle Tennessee. We've got great restaurants, entertainment, sports, and one of the nation's top Ford dealers right here in our backyard. Two Rivers Ford. Remember that name. Two Rivers has been a staple in our community since 1983. They're locally owned. They have a non-commissioned sales team, and they sell below MSRP. They've been doing business with integrity for decades. Two Rivers Ford.